Hey folks, so I suppose I should preface this one by saying spoiler warning. Secondly, this book isn't worth a read, so I don't feel any guilt for telling you what's going to happen in this one. So the book today, which we're going to look for any life lessons or money mindset stuff, is Agatha Christie's Destination Unknown. This book is one of her thrillers. It is definitely considered one of her lesser thrillers. Apparently she wrote a couple of thrillers at the same time, and people say that all of her best ideas were in the first one. One of the things I really noticed about this one was how thin everything felt. It felt like everything was just like a very glossed over, and then this happened and here's a character and here's a character. But there didn't seem to be any of that like little bits of fractalness that often happens with her characters. So often what I find is that Agatha Christie is really good about giving you like a sentence or two, which gives you a sense of inner depth or like life. But in this one, the characters barely even seem to show up. Like, they have names and a few characteristics, but otherwise they're very much broad brush thriller characters. Here's a female American. Here's a male American. The female American acts like this, the male American acts like this, and I feel like all of them are painted with a very broad brush as if they are set characters in a thriller, which they are, but it would be nice if they felt like they were a little bit more, that they had actually some kind of inner life, some kind of things going on outside of their role in the book. So what's the premise of the book? The premise of the book is supposed to be like this Cold War thriller. There are some scientists who are going missing from the West, and the powers that be suspect that they are going behind the Iron Curtain, that they have been recruited by the Soviets. And so one of those scientists has gone missing. His wife has now decided that for her health, she's going to go to Morocco. The powers that be suspect that she is going to make contact with this shadowy organization and be reunited with her husband. So en route, her plane crashes and Olive is fatally injured. Powers that be still want to find out who this shadowy organization is. So they find another red-headed English woman in Morocco, and they convince her to take Olive's place. Hilary has decided to end it all. She doesn't see the purpose in life anymore. Her husband has left her, her child has passed away, and so what's more, when she's presented with this, she goes along with it. And again, like, here's an opportunity to learn a lot more about this woman, and she's our point of view character, but yet it's still very much through a filter, through a lens. We're told that she's incredibly smart, that she's able to pick up these things right away. The powers that be are really excited by her, and yet there's no sense of anything. It's just kind of told. This book is really the epitome of show, don't tell. Like, everything is told and very little is shown. Even later in the book, where you discover that she's been leaving marked pearls to mark her route through the desert. Yeah, it's told to us afterwards. You're told earlier that like she has broken her necklace, but not that there was a purpose behind it, not the thoughtfulness of like, where will I hide these pearls? None of that stuff. It's all shown to you afterwards as like the reveal midway through, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. But what is really interesting about this is the shadowy organization behind all these scientists' disappearances, because it turns out it's not the Soviet Union, but instead it is a purely commercial enterprise. They have decided to try to find all the smartest men in the world, men of course, because it's the 50s, although there are a few women. They're weird women, but there are a few women, and then rent them out to all of the different countries that are going to need scientists later. And why is this very tech bro-ish? Well, for me, it's because of how they recruit the scientists. But how do you get all these people to come here? I buy them, madame, in the open market, like any other merchandise. Sometimes I buy them with money, but more often I buy them with ideas. Young men are dreamers. They have ideals, they have beliefs. Sometimes I buy them with safety, those who have transgressed the law. That explains it, said Hilary. Explains, I mean, what puzzled me on the journey here. Ah, it puzzled you on the journey, did it? Yes, the different names. Andy Peters was the American, seemed completely left-wing, but Erikson was a fanatical believer in the Superman, and Helga Niedheim was a fascist of the most arrogant and pagan sort. Dr. Barron, she hesitated. Yes, he came for money, said Orestes. Dr. Barron is civilized and cynical. He has no illusions, but he has a genuine love of his work. He wanted unlimited money so as to pursue his researches further. And for me, this is the core of why I really dislike companies that talk about their mission and their vision. It's because for me, it seems so cynical. It seems like they're trying to put this veneer of some kind of broader goal onto the world, when in fact the founders, well, they might have had that at the beginning. By the time that I get in there, they're just in it for the money. They've moved beyond that initial goal. They've made way too many compromises and they won't admit it. And in fact, in the book, there is this big gathering, this big meeting, and they talk, there's this director and everybody's really excited and it's such an incredible talk. And Hillary realizes afterwards that it wasn't what was said, because what was said was kind of pablum. It was like, oh, youth will save us, science will save us, all these things, which if you've been at many tech events in the last decade, you've probably lived through. And she finds out afterwards that the director was an evangelical preacher. And yeah, a lot of the town halls actually feel like big tent events. They feel like those, self-help things. They feel like that religious evangelical experience. And so I am thankful for Destination Unknown for letting me think about that a little bit earlier before I was dropped right into the situation. I do have to say that recognizing that town halls are like big tent events is not any help when you're actually in them, because recognizing it and then trying to explain to other people what's going on does not make one happy. And I do have to say again that this is not a good book, not just because it is poorly written, but it is also not a good book because of the extreme othering. We are in Morocco. There are people of color, and the othering lens is strong. The language is appalling. The characters are not good. And so I wouldn't recommend it for those reasons as well. Yeah, so although it has a beautiful cover, this book has a beautiful cover. Thanks. Like, comment, subscribe. I will continue to come out with my commentary on old books, maybe some new books. I'm going to drop in some food stuff because I like food as well as books. And yeah, would love to have you come back. Comments. What's a book that you took something away from even though it was a really bad book? Love to hear about it. Take care. Bye. How many times have you been at a company town hall and really it's a revivalist meeting? They know how to do it. They've got the psychology nailed down, and so many companies just copy that now. And they don't say anything, just like the director in this organization doesn't say anything, because they don't want people who have all these very different belief systems to realize that that's what's happening. But yeah, revivalist meeting.